What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome into another edition of the Changeup here on the network. We break down everything Major League Baseball has to offer. With me, as always, my co-host Bryanna Winner. You can find Bryanna at bwinner12. How you doing today?
I'm good. There's not going to be much to update in the winner's circle because they're doing so well. So
Yeah, you got
the,
first
the
place Angels.
storylines, these
Sorry.
storylines are going to be interesting.
Yes, these are definitely the juiciest storylines we've had. Definitely some. I don't know if we'll call it finality in one of these storylines, but one that we get some big news. I know the one Bryanna texted me when the news broke, and I was very surprised. I think it was in a work meeting, and I had to kind of stifle my surprise when that went down. But we'll get to that in a moment. We'll of course have the winner's circle, and we'll check in with the Padres, and of course our 3 up, 3 down, and we also have our first retirement from the down list. I don't think you have to think too hard about who that will be, but we'll get to that momentarily as well. But the first, I guess, big storyline, at least on the field this week, was the Mets, a combined no-hitter. They do it against the Phillies, kind of ironic because we talked last week about what we kind of thought would be more difficult, the single pitcher no-hitter or the combined. I think we both kind of said it would be the single pitcher. And, about 3 or 4 days later after we record, we get a combined no-hitter. So Bryanna, our first no-hitter of the year is combined. What are your thoughts?
I mean, again, this is a lot easier to do because it's fresher arms coming in than just one person where they've been going the entire game and they may feel tired, they may not, just depends. But look, the Phillies are not the greatest right about now, so kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and if you were to look at the Phillies lineup, obviously there's plenty of potential, there's definitely a lot of pop in that, but not a whole lot of contact. Let's be honest. There's going to be a lot of strikeouts when we saw that. The Mets did take 2 out of 3 overall. The Yankees are only the better team in baseball right now. And that's unfortunate, for us here on the podcast, but the Yankees are playing well. And going back to the combined no-hitter, I think what also makes it a little more easier with the combined side of things is when you have the same pitcher, the single pitcher, you're seeing them 3 times, maybe 4 if you're at the top of the lineup. So you get those chances to kind of see how it comes in. Sometimes, you get two at bats against the starter and then 2 against guys that are throwing just absolute gas, if that. So, the Mets doing what they do. They're a good team. A lot of people expected them to be good. I'm not ready to buy in just yet. We all know what the Mets are kind of capable of late, but they are off to a good start. And DeGrom reportedly is making good progress. I'll believe that one when I see it, but that is good news for the Mets. So some not so good news. This was off the field. We get, like I said, some finality. Like I said, I don't think it's true finality in the Trevor Bauer situation.
Oh no, he's appealing it. So
Yeah. This is gonna, but at the very least, look, the appeals process is going to get dragged out. I don't think we'll see him anytime soon. But he did get a 2-year suspension, 364 games, I believe was the exact number, which is 2 162s. For all you non-mathematicians, it took me a little while, but I finally got there. But yeah, 2 full seasons he has been suspended. There were no criminal charges levied against him. Those charges were dropped. I'm not going to sit here and say that means he's not guilty. That's not always the way that goes. But there is the other side of this where, look, for the last 3, 4, 5 years, no one's been more outspoken against Rob Manfred than Trevor Bauer. And I think Rob Manfred got a gun, a metaphorical gun, if you will, and said, you know what, I'm going to shoot no matter what. And we will see, obviously, this appeal process is, like I said, going to get drawn out. This is probably the first step of many on the legal side, but 2 years for Trevor Bauer. Bryanna, what are your thoughts?
I mean, we kind of saw something going to happen. We weren't sure what. But like you said, Bauer has been very outspoken against Manfred. So we kind of had to expect that the investigation was going to do something to suspend him, whether it was giving him a ban or just not allowing him to play ever again, which is what they're going to try to figure out now, is if it's just going to stay 2 years or if it's going to be lifetime, obviously after the appeal is over, which who knows when that's going to be.
Yeah. Well, and another part of this too is, correct me if I'm wrong. I know if he did play at all last year, it was very, maybe April.
He hasn't played since he was with the Padres.
Okay.
Or Reds. I don't know. I saw that in a story. Don't look at me.
No, definitely not the Padres. But no, I understand. He didn't pitch last year. I don't think he's pitched for the Dodgers.
Or maybe it was against the Padres. I don't know. I remember seeing Padres in a story.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Enough.
I remember seeing the Padres.
It took me a minute. I was like, wait, what? But no, essentially he hasn't pitched in, if this goes all the way through, he will have not pitched in 3+ years. For a guy who was already in his 30s, I don't, want to say it's a death sentence. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Japan, him going to Japan to keep his arm. Now, I think Trevor Bauer is going to fight this. He's not one to back down, even if it means, it could be easier for him to just go to Japan, take the 2 years, go pitch in Japan for 2 years and come back if that's so. But I think this is somebody who wants to, quote unquote, die on this hill. And look, if he is innocent, you can't really blame him. I don't know. This isn't the podcast for that. I'm sure there is a podcast that will break all that stuff down. We're not the one. We're just telling you 2-year suspension, appeal incoming. So, we'll keep our eye on it. There've been a couple times myself and Bryanna have talked, do we want to talk about the Trevor Bauer? It kept, the reinstatement kept getting pushed back. And I remember just kind of thinking, let's wait until we get some sort of like concrete news. Here it is. So, it is our duty to kind of go over it. But in terms of diving into the legal side of it, that'll be for another podcast, or, make sure you can go find multiple sources to get the full story there. But at the end of the day, Trevor Bauer, the very least, will not be pitching anytime soon in baseball. So another bit of unfortunate news is a team Trevor knows very well. It's the Cincinnati Reds. They are our first retirement from the down in record fashion. We've 22 games and we are done with this team. They will not be making our down list. They are 3-19 through 22 games. The second worst start in Major League history since 1900. The 1988 Baltimore Orioles went 1-21 in their first 22 games. But for this Cincinnati Reds team, it's been a disaster after disaster. There's a video going around where they were in Coors Field. 2 straight dropped foul balls, and then the third one was dropped on the infield. It's a comedy of errors. Joey Votto has said it is embarrassing, and you can't really blame him for having those thoughts. It's really unfortunate. I think there were probably 3 or 4 other teams we would have thought that would start 3-19. We didn't expect the Reds to be good, but we did not expect them to be record-breaking bad. Bryanna, what are your thoughts on the 3-19 Cincinnati Reds?
I think it also just makes it worse that they were actually fighting for a playoff spot last year. Like, they were in it until the final week, and now they're 3-19.
Yeah.
That's what makes it worse.
It's true. Like I said, it was a fire sale this offseason for them. I mean, Suarez was dealt. Winkler was dealt. There were a couple of Castellanos. I don't know if he was there last year. Anyways, but they lost some pieces. But this team is, the Padres are 6-0 against this team. And I'm trying to figure out how San Diego can relocate to the Midwest and get into the NL Central, because that's 16 wins there against the Reds, just like that. Before the Reds, they're going to have to finish somewhere in the 50s to 60 win range. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, this could be a record-setting year for them. I mean, unfortunately, the only thing that's going to work in their favor is they're not in a very good division. That the NL Central is not very tough, But at the end of the day, the Cincinnati Reds are not very good. That usually does not set up well for success. So once again, when we do go through the 3 ups and 3 downs throughout the year, no matter how bad the Reds are, if the Reds don't win a single game the rest of the year, which is possible, they will not make the downs list. They have officially been retired. So, give you the little tip of the cap. Not really, though. Head off into the sunset and go try and win 62, 63 games so you don't lose 100. But I don't know how that's going to happen now. But now it is time to look at some things that are a lot more sunnier. And that is the winner's circle. It's been, this may be, I'm trying to rack my brain. There may have been other winner's circles that have been this jovial, but it's been a long time since we've been, talking about a team like the Angels or the Angels doing what they've been doing, first place, all that stuff. Bryanna, the floor is yours. Tell us what we got going on.
Well, the Angels are still in first. They are 15-9. They're second in the they're tied for second in the American League with the Blue Jays, and they're both just behind the freaking Yankees. Yeah. So they went 2-2 versus the White Sox this last week. Ohtani has been day-to-day the last few days because of a groin injury on Sunday. Both him and Syndergaard were both scratched from pitching starts this week. And Ohtani's next start date is up in the air because of this injury. So there's not really much to go off of just because of how good they've been doing. It's not like I can say anything bad. It's not like everybody's been pulling their weight. So there's been home runs all around. So next, they still have a 3-game series starting with Boston today through Thursday. Then they're home against Washington Friday through Sunday. And then they've got Tampa Bay Monday through Wednesday. And one of these teams happens to be on the down list. So I guess we will talk about them in a little bit.
Yeah. A team that's on the down list, but still a good team. We're not going to break, I'm not going to spoil it.
And a team I mentioned is also going on the up list, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yes. But for the Angels, you have to be positive right now, even if you're a baseball fan. The pitching's been good. The hitting, obviously. What's the kid's name who last time we talked, he almost hit he was a single away from
Taylor Ward.
Taylor Ward. He's apparently hit like 350. He's one.
I wish I had him on my fantasy team.
Yeah, right. I think that you're not alone. There are a lot of people who probably picked him
and
up.
I have both the Ohtanis.
Oh yeah, the starter and the hitter,
the pitcher and the batter. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah. So good news there coming out of Anaheim or LA, however you want to look at that. So good for the Angels, and hopefully when we bring in October, we are talking about the Angels playing in some postseason baseball. So thank you for that, Bryanna. We are now looking at the Padres side of things, and it's not as positive as the Angels side of things just because of the standings. Padres take 2 out of 3 from Pittsburgh. They beat bad baseball teams. They swept the season series wins with the Reds. And took 2 out of 3 from Pittsburgh this past weekend. Would have been nice to get the sweep. The bullpen on Saturday, I don't want to say, pooped the bed, but well, Amber Heard would be jealous. But anyways, that's another story. The Padres are 15-8 at the moment. They are 7-3 in their last 10. They are looking at the Guardians tonight, and I was a little worried about that lead in, and I'm glad I said Guardians. They will be in Cleveland for that one. The interesting part of this is the sunshine will be there. I don't know the weather report in Cleveland, to be completely honest. However, Mike Clevinger, for the first time since 2020, will take the mound after Tommy John. It's very, very good news. Obviously, you have him returning against his former team in his former stadium. I'm sure he'll get a nice round of applause from all 25 fans that will show up in Cleveland tonight. But for the Padres, this is just adding to strengths. The Padres pitching staff has been a strength, no doubt about it, even with the Saturday situation in the bullpen withstanding. The pitching staff has been one of the top parts of this, and with Clevinger coming back, it only makes it stronger. And at the same time, it doesn't put a ton of pressure on him. If he comes and is really good, even better. If he comes and is, struggles, takes a little bit to get back to the sunshine levels, That's okay too, because I think he's okay being a number 5 right now. We have 4 really good starters. I've been incredibly impressed with Mackenzie Gore. He continues to go out. I know they're going to kind of slow him down, probably miss a start here in the next week or two to just kind of keep him fresh. Don't want to overwork him, but with Clevenger coming back, that's great. Eric Hosmer, Manny Machado, these two are on fire as well. They lead the National League in average and hits as well. Really, really good stuff from those two. And obviously Manny Machado, that's expected. For Eric Hosmer, he is putting the metaphorical FU to all the Padre fans who have been screaming for him to be traded and screaming that it was the worst contract in Padre history. And guess what? I will put my hand up. I did that. And I still do. Look, I'm not ready to crown Eric Hosmer the greatest Padre of all time because of 1 month. But he is definitely looking like he's going to have finally a season that has been expected of him for quite some time since he's been in San Diego. And there's not really a big surprise that with those two doing well, the Padres are as well. They are still behind the Dodgers. They are ahead of the Giants. For the Padres, you're going to have to beat bad baseball teams, win those series. That's what they've done, and be competitive against good baseball teams. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Giants. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. They split with the Braves. Not ideal, but I'll take it. There aren't any sweeps in there. No really dominating performances where you just get discouraged on the Padres. So overall, could be better, but it could be a hell of a lot worse for the Padres, sitting in second place, 15-8. They got Cleveland for 2 in the Guardians place, and then we'll come home to face a Marlins team that we'll talk about here momentarily for 4 at Petco. And then the Cubs will come to town next week as well before the Padres head back out on the road to Atlanta and others. So a nice setup for the Padres. They have an opportunity to beat bad baseball teams because that's what they're going to be playing here in the next 3 series. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully the Padres can continue to win and stay competitive in a West that, even with the Rockies kind of falling off a bit, the West is still really, really good. So with that being said, it is time to dive into our 3 ups and 3 downs. This week, Bryanna had to be the positive individual and find us some ups out there. Bryanna, what's our first up of the week?
Hey, now last week's downs were somewhat positive because it was the Astros.
Yes, definitely.
So the first up is going to be the Miami Marlins / Fish, as I like to call them. So they are 7-3 in their last 10 games, and they are currently second in the National League East at 12-10. Them and the Mets are the only teams in that division that are currently over 500. But they did move into second last week. I think they were in third. So it's an up.
Yeah. Well, and I'm surprised. I'm very surprised that the Marlins are sticking around this late, especially in that division, because I think we talked about it. 4th place probably would have been where we put them, or 5th, depending. The Nationals and Marlins weren't going to be a factor, at least in our minds, or at least in my mind. It was going to be kind of the 3, right? Maybe not the Phillies, but the Braves and Mets were probably going to be fighting it out. I still expect the Braves to be there towards the end. I don't know if the Marlins will still be there, but I think they'll be a competitive team. I think that this is a team that's got a lot of young talent, and I think Kim Na has put them in the right position. They lost Derek Jeter in the offseason, for better or worse. There were plenty of people who were not very positive on what he did there. There were a lot of players sent to the Yankees, kind of like, wait, what's going on here? But for the Marlins, they have to be feeling good. And in that division, will they continue on that way? We will find out. But for them right now to be in second place heading into May, good for them. Definitely a positive sign for them. So staying in that division, but getting pretty negative. It is, of course, the Washington Nationals. I'm pretty sure they were in last place last week too, but They have been on a bit of a slide. I'm just going to pull up the exact losing streak they're at right now. Oh no, I'm sorry. They won last night, but they are 2-8 in their last 10. That's what happens when you do the rundown a little earlier than you expect. You see some 4 or 5 losses. But they are 8-16, already 8 games behind the Mets. We are only a 1 month into the season. They're essentially done. Not a whole lot of surprise there. The Mets, or excuse me, the Nats were not expected to be very good. Bryanna, what are your thoughts? Washington Nationals. Are we going to see a what was it? 2019 worst to first?
Probably not. No.
Yeah.
Because they lost a good chunk of that team.
Yeah.
So they don't really have anybody left from that team. So I personally do not see it happening. And the Mets are just too good for them to actually like win the division. The wild card race is going to be even harder because look, you've got the West. You're not going to get a wild card spot because of the West. If one team is taking the division, the other team is going to be a wild card spot. There's nothing else to say about it.
Yeah, I agree. And the Nats, you're right. It's Juan Soto and Steven Strasburg and 24 other dudes. Really, that's what it is. Now there might be some guys there that, 3 or 4 years ago, oh, well, this guy wasn't okay. Well, they're a little past their prime. The Nationals, and they're also in a division where now we realize even the Marlins are better than them. So the seller, I think, is going to be their destiny going forward, unless the Phillies really, really start to fall apart there. So moving on to our second up of the week. Bryanna, what you got?
It's going to be Cleveland because I don't want to talk about the other team just yet. So it's going to be the Cleveland Guardians. They may be 3-7 in their last 10, but last week the White Sox were in second. This week it is the Guardians. And aside from Minnesota, they're the only team in that division that's over 500, which is not saying much because I think the Twins are going to have a downfall and the White Sox are going to have a skyrocket. But as of right now, there are only 2 teams over 500 in that division.
It'll be 2 teams with 10 wins or more because the Guardians are 10-12. But nobody else has more than 10 wins. You're right. The White Sox, what in the world is going on? It seems like we're just waiting for them to kind of catch fire. They're 3-7. But for the Guardians on the upside of things, they have some good bats. There's no doubt about it. They are going to have obviously the Padres here the next 2 games, but only 2 games for them. And 3.5 games behind Minnesota, like you said. I don't think either of us are ready to crown the Twins yet.
No, and I had accidentally misspoke because I was thinking of the last up where there were 2 teams over 500. This one, the only one is Minnesota.
Gotcha.
That was my bad. My brain just didn't quite think it.
No worries.
In that moment.
No worries.
But yeah. I think the White Sox are going to make a comeback. It's just they need to pull their act together. Yeah, and
baseball season's weird because you will go, oh, it's early. And then all of a sudden you look up and you're at the All-Star break. And guess what? When you're at the All-Star break, it is no longer early. And I understand we're still in that early phase. But the point being, I go back to last year's Twins. I was gung-ho on the Twins, and it was 2 months of me. Just hold on. They'll get going. And Bryanna over there snickering. She knows. And hey, I deserve it.
I told you it was going to be the White Sox.
100%. Well, I'll tell you what. And I didn't terribly disagree with you. I just didn't realize the Twins would finish last place. I think the Twins.
Well, that started because of the COVID situation that they had. That's why the Angels went downhill too, was because they had that long break in between because they didn't have that series against the Twins. And because they were doing really well before that, and then after that, it just went downhill for the Angels.
Yeah, and the Twins,
I blame the Twins.
Never got going. The Twins unfortunately never got going last year, and this year they have it, but there is still the White Sox that are there. I don't think the Guardians will be a factor, but it's nice for them to kind of be doing what they're doing right now. But hopefully that stops and they lose the next 2 games to the Padres. So it's being a little selfish in that hope there. But our second down will be a team Bryanna's Angels will be facing here this week. Actually, starting tonight, it is the Boston Red Sox, another team that has I had high expectations. Well, they're 3-7 in their last 10, 9-14 overall. Only one game better than the Baltimore Orioles, and 8 games back of the New York Yankees, who have won 10 in a row. I am going to throw that out there. I know Bryanna didn't want to throw them in there, but they've won 10 in a row.
because they're going to be talked about next.
Yeah. Oh, they are. Okay, so they did make the list. Never mind. Cancel that. Boston.
There was no other team to put there.
Yeah, fair enough. 9-14, 8 games back already. Bryanna, what are your thoughts on the Red Sox early season struggles?
Well, I think it's going to be kind of like the White Sox, where they'll start moving up, but they may not be able to move up much just because of the flipping Yankees and the Blue Jays. But they're not going to be fourth. They're not going to be last. I expect them to finish third or higher. I mean, we'll just have to see what happens. Again, we're only a month in. And even then, these teams didn't really have a spring training. So that could also be affecting their play. Could be affecting the Reds, but doesn't seem like it because they just suck.
Yeah. It's hard to watch a Reds baseball and go, you know what? There's 2 things they need to fix and they'll be all right. They have a lot of holes there. For the Red Sox, I think they do only have a few little holes they do need to fix. The one problem here, we talked about the Central and the AL, right? The White Sox, we can see them figuring it out, winning the division. The East, though, is tough.
They have to get past the Yankees and the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and even
both teams are on a roll right now.
Yeah, and Tampa's not terrible either. This is a team that I believe had the best record in all of baseball last year, or at least in the American League. Tampa's 13-10, not terrible, but Boston, I think the big surprise or the big worry is them being 8 games behind the Yankees already. That's not an insurmountable lead, but you got to get rolling quick. And I know there's 3 against the Angels coming up. That's not going to be easy. The schedule probably won't lighten up anytime soon with the East rolling through. So Boston's got to get things rolling. They're 3-7, lost 2 in a row. They only have a -9 run differential, so they can obviously, pour it on when they need to. But they're gonna have to start rolling real quick. They're already 4 games out of just 3rd place. So the Red Sox, not quite panic mode, but also not time to feel great about yourself.
It's not the Reds panic mode.
Exactly. Yeah. We're not retiring the Red Sox. They're not even talked about yet. The Reds done. But I kind of spoiled it earlier. But Bryanna, our 3rd and final up, begrudgingly.
Unfortunately, it's the Yankees. They're 10-0 in their last 10. They have the best record in all of baseball right now at 17-6, and they took their entire team to Toronto to face off against the Blue Jays. Every single player is there. Every single player is vaccinated. Every single player is healthy. And I don't like saying that they're healthy because then they're just going to keep winning. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but at the same time, I don't want them to win.
Yeah, it's true.
I never want to condone anybody getting hurt.
Yes.
But it's the Yankees, and I don't want them winning that division.
Yeah, they're on fire, and I mean Toronto's got to be looking around like, hey, we've been playing real well as well. Toronto's 15-9, they're 2.5 back, but yeah, the Yankees 10-game winning streak, 17-6 already with a nice lead in that division. But the health is that elephant in the room. But you brought it up. Everyone is healthy. And when that's happening, you're probably going to see this, for better or worse. We don't like it, but the Yankees are a good team when healthy. It hasn't been the case, or at least the health side of it hasn't been the case in the last few years. It looks like it's all coming together now, but we'll see though. It is still early. And like I said, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, I don't want to see anyone get hurt, just like you, Bryanna. But those are big bodies, and big muscles, big things like that tend to kind of, little tweaks here and there hurt. And I think later in the year, we're going to see that. But it's going to take a lot of these guys going down. I don't think, if Aaron Judge goes down for 3 weeks to a month, the Yankees just fall off. It's going to kind of take one of those, oh my goodness, it's been a week for the Yankees where they lost 3 or 4 guys. So they have to feel good about themselves right now. For us, it's very unfortunate, but it is what it is. Hopefully the rest of the teams in the East can kind of bring them back down to earth, or at least end this winning streak at some point. Because no one likes to see the Yankees succeed unless you're a Yankee fan, and we don't have any on the podcast. So our final down of the week is a team that is also getting very close to being retired. Another team,
but they haven't been mentioned yet.
You're right. But the way they're looking, they are a team that we kind of expected to be pretty bad. It is the Kansas City Royals. They've lost 4 in a row, 2-8 in their last 10. Overall, 7-14. Already 6 games back. They have a minus 35 run differential, which only is which Cincinnati is the only team that has worse run differential as Kansas City. For the Royals, the highlight of their season was bringing back Zach Greinke. Congratulations to them. He was somebody that I'm sure they, love to kind of champion. They won the World Series 10 years ago, whenever that was. But it's been pretty tough for Royals fans for quite some time. And it's going to continue. This is not a good baseball team, and there's not really anything. Bobby Witt Jr. seems like a pretty good player, but you need a lot more than him for this team to get competitive, even in that division. They're not good. They are on the down, like I said, losing streaks, all of the above. Check those lists. But Bryanna, what are your thoughts? The Kansas City Royals, 7-14, last place in the Central.
They're tied for last.
Last. They have the worst run
right there with them.
Yeah,
Detroit's right there with them.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about that because I thought Detroit was going to be a lot better. I'm just going to stop making predictions about the AL Central for the rest of my life. But anyways, back to you.
Hey, as long as I get the winner right, I don't care what else happens.
We both had Chicago though, so I think we're.
I know. But last year I had Chicago and you had Minnesota.
Yeah, I misunderstood. I thought we were talking.
Never going to let you forget that. Never gonna let you forget that.
Nope.
It's not going to get any better for Kansas City because they have to finish out this series with the Cardinals. If they want to move up, they've got the Orioles and the Rangers right after the Cardinals. So they are going to need to beat both those teams, both those series, in order to get out of the bottom. Let me see what Detroit's schedule looks like, because Detroit's got a 2-game series with Pirates, and then they have the Astros.
Oof.
And then the A's. So if they want to move up, if the Royals want to move above the Tigers, they are going to need to beat the Orioles and the Rangers when they can.
100%.
There's no way they're going to beat the Cardinals, but if they can beat those other 2 series, because Detroit's most likely not going to be able to beat the Astros, and the Pirates are actually doing somewhat okay.
I said better somewhat. Than I think we expected.
I said somewhat.
Yeah.
They're still better than the Reds and the Cubs.
Yeah.
And that's a shock. So they are going to need to step up their game if they want to at least get sole possession of 4th.
Yeah. I'm just looking over the Central right now. You have Minnesota that's 9-1 in their last 10. Everyone else, 3-7, 3-7, 3-7, 2-8. That's the Central for you. And for Minnesota, if they keep going 9-1 in 10-game increments, they're going to clinch this division by the All-Star break. So keep an eye on that. I don't think either of us do that. But at the end of the day, if the Central does come down to it, I think we're both in agreement. The Kansas City Royals will not be a part of that discussion. The Detroit Tigers probably won't either. But I still, think that Central is the White Soxes to lose. I don't know if that's an implied plural. Anyways, the White Sox to lose. But Bryanna, what are your final thoughts for another edition here of the Changeup?
Well, looking at Cleveland, they're on a 3-game win streak, but they're 3-7 in their last 10. But I guess the name change is working for them because they're doing better than they probably have in the last few years as the Indians.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
And I know I said it.
No, that's fine.
Said it, but in different context.
Yes, no, that is the right way to say it. That is the way to bring it up as a when they were the same thing with the Redskins when they were the Redskins, because guess what, folks?
I love how long it took them to come up with a team name.
At one point for me, this is going to go to an NFL tangent, but at one point for me, just stick with football team. I mean, it grew on me. I'm not gonna lie. Like I laughed at it at first, but towards the end, I was like, it's kind of cool, like we are the football team. Like no originality, but we are the football team. Anyways, that's for another podcast coming up here in the next month or two. But anyways, with that, it's nice to see that team at least do well. I think it's like, well, they signed Jose Ramirez to that contract, so that bumped up like their payroll maybe up into the 50s or $60 million. But there was a time before that they were going to have a payroll of like $30 million. Well, Mookie Betts is getting paid like 35 a year and making more than the entire Guardian team. So doing well with kind of a very small payroll. Good for them. We'll see how that holds up. We'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, the Padres hopefully will take care of business in the next few games. But we'll be back with you all next week to break down everything that's gone down this week here on the Changeup. Thank you all so much for listening to the Changeup presented by the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all soon. Have a great weekend and enjoy the baseball.